I had no idea that the innocence and love that had meant so much to me were being exchanged for a life of roaming and romance. I just didn't know that my guitar and my big, deep voice were slowly taking me further and further from the securities of home, one song at a time. Like a puppy chasing butterflies and frogs on a warm spring day, I too would someday be lost and not be able to find my way home. No one knew, not Kathy or Mother or my dad, that years later I would turn around and be as lost as a wino on a cold city street. The lure of a gift from God was what put Job in the dirt, sick and dying, while his friends tried to talk him out of his depression and confusion. Job had choices he could have made that would have changed his direction. So do all of us. Get a good education, son. A good education will get you a solid job. Don't try to make a living with your dreams of music. Stay in school. Reach for security. I got my education and eventually married a woman I met in college. We graduated together and went to teach music together in a small Kansas town. 1 month later, I resigned. We bought an old van and headed out on the road so I could become a troubadour. The rest is written in the book that you're listening to. Go on, turn the page, enjoy the adventures of America's Lost Dreamer. It was 10 below zero out on the street, and the old man stood shivering, but he was still on his feet. There ain't too much pleasure in an old hobo's life, just a lot of memories of drinking, losing a son and a wife. The old man looked up and said, "Where'd it all go, Lord? I guess I gave it all up for just enough whiskey to fill an old Dixie cup. I'm standing here shivering. It's so cold tonight, and I'm too old to turn back the pages of life." Down by the mission on a hot July night, a young cop was working. He'd just broke up a fight. He was thinking of his mother there at home all alone and how his daddy had left them so long ago. Not far from the depot, beneath an old streetlight, he saw an old hobo laying there dying with a bottle held tight. As he bent down to listen to the old man's last words, a tear filled his eye, 'cause here's what he heard. The old man looked up and said, "Where'd it all go, son?" "I guess I gave it all up for just enough whiskey to fill an old Dixie cup. Now I'm laying here dying beneath my hometown streetlights, just too old to turn back the pages of life. Just too old to turn back the pages of life." I was educated, married, full of a dream that was bigger than the world and strong and young. My wife was young, pretty, smart, and mean as hell. After we got married, she got religion and became the most jealous woman that ever walked on the face of the earth. Her dad was an Oklahoma Southern Baptist preacher. Her mom was a local school music teacher and music director at the church. Oklahoma was a different place to grow up. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and early 70s, Oklahoma was full of oil money. A lot of money was filtered into the arts and music and also sports. Okies wanted a good education to be available for every child. The migration of whites into Indian Territory had taken everything away from the Native American and put a lot of money into politics and oil. By 1972, we were living in an era that no one had seen coming. It crept up on America from behind and swept the nation. A revolt that left a path of broken homes across the nation from coast to coast, wider than Sherman's march to Georgia, brother against father, mother against daughter. God dies, the president got impeached, long hair, sandals, freedom of expression, Sex, drugs, rock and roll took over. My dream was alive and well, and I had liberated myself from the rules that had held me back. The day I walked into the superintendent of schools and resigned my position as a teacher was a day that will ring in my ears until I die. I asserted my male rights and told the system goodbye for good. I took my guitar and wife and put them in a 6240 Econoline van and drove to Colorado to sing in bars, restaurants, ski resorts, and anywhere else I could find where three or more gathered in the name of freedom. Sunsets, sunrises, full moons, love, freedom took the place of jobs, morality, guilt, security, and white picket fences. Norman Rockwell moved to another planet, and op art and acid rock took over. I was already a dying breed and had only just found freedom. Folk music was dead, and I never saw it happen. It was still alive and a valid way of expression. To me, John Denver and James Taylor were already being dropped from the FM radio airwaves. People with bad voices and screaming guitars were taking the stages away from Joan Baez and Judy Collins and the Dillards. I was lost in the middle of a revolution that gave me freedom and stole my chances of a successful career as a folk singer at the same time. The road became my symbol of freedom. The eagle flew high and looked down on man and saw a question on the face of Mother Earth. She wondered if her sons and daughters would ever find their way back home. From riverbank to riverbank, town to town, and bar to bar, the nation of America unfolded her wisdom and downfalls to my heart and soul. My voice grew bigger. My natural ability to entertain any type of audience became polished and was honed to a sharp edge like a beautiful Stephen Foster song cuts through the heart of the hardest lumberjacks and cowboys. I've seen songs like Beautiful Dreamer in My Old Kentucky Home bring a tear to the hardest drunk in a bar. Amazing Grace has brought many a hardened criminal to his knees in a prison cell. My simple style of coining a phrase and singing a pretty melody was paving a road that would lead me millions of miles from that innocent boy of 14 on a bicycle on an Oklahoma Saturday afternoon. Kathy got married. My wife and I lost each other between Oklahoma and California. The dream took over and consumed my life. The young boy that laid on his back and watched the buffalo clouds of Oklahoma found himself on a nude beach south of Santa Barbara, listening to the power of the waves. He wondered in his mind if he would ever find love and the securities of home again, or if he would wander from pillar to post throughout his entire life. The world was huge and so beautiful and so full of wonderment. What price will we pay for freedom?